Once upon a time, in a faraway kingdom, there lived a beautiful princess named Snow White. Her skin was as white as snow, her lips as red as blood, and her hair as black as ebony. Her beauty was unmatched, but her life was far from easy. Snow White's mother, the queen, passed away when she was very young. Her father, the king, remarried a woman who was beautiful but wicked and vain. This new queen possessed a magical mirror, which she often consulted, asking, "Mirror, mirror on the wall, who is the most beautiful of them all?" For years, the mirror always replied, "You, my queen, are the most beautiful of them all." However, as Snow White grew older, her beauty surpassed that of her stepmother. One day, when the queen asked her mirror the usual question, the mirror responded, "Queen, you are full fair. 'Tis true, but Snow White is more beautiful than you." Enraged with jealousy, the wicked queen ordered a huntsman to take Snow White into the forest and kill her. As proof of her deed, she demanded that the huntsman bring back Snow White's heart. The kind-hearted huntsman, however, could not bring himself to harm the innocent princess. Instead, he told her to flee into the woods and never return. He brought back the heart of a wild boar to deceive the queen. Lost and frightened, Snow White wandered through the forest until she stumbled upon a small cottage. Curious, she entered and found the place inhabited by 7 dwarfs. Exhausted, she fell asleep across several of their tiny beds. When the dwarfs returned home, they found Snow White, and after she explained her plight, they took pity on her and invited her to stay. Snow White lived happily with the dwarfs, who warned her to be cautious of the wicked queen. Meanwhile, the queen learned from her mirror that Snow White was still alive and the most beautiful in the land. Enraged, she devised a plan to kill Snow White herself. She disguised herself as an old peddler woman and visited the dwarf's cottage, offering Snow White a poisoned apple. Trusting the kind old woman, Snow White took a bite and immediately fell into a deep, death-like sleep. The dwarfs were heartbroken when they found Snow White. Believing her to be dead, they placed her in a glass coffin in the forest. Time passed, and one day, a prince from a neighboring kingdom discovered the beautiful princess lying in the coffin. Struck by her beauty and apparent innocence, he leaned down and kissed her. The kiss broke the spell, and Snow White awoke. Upon learning of Snow White's revival, the queen's heart began to change. She realized the depth of her jealousy and wickedness and felt genuine remorse for her actions. Seeking forgiveness, she approached Snow White and the dwarfs, expressing her deep regret. Moved by the queen's transformation and sincerity, Snow White and the dwarfs forgave her. From that day on, the queen vowed to be kind and just. Snow White and the prince married and lived happily ever after, while the queen, now reformed, ruled the kingdom with wisdom and compassion. The 7 dwarfs continued to live in their cozy cottage, always remembered and cherished by the princess they had saved. And so, Snow White's story reminds us that true beauty lies within, and kindness and forgiveness can lead to a happily ever after for all.